Okay. Make sure everyone is a co-host, everyone can see. Perfect. Okay, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are around the world. Thank you so much for joining us, and happy International Rubber Duck Day. We'll talk about this in a minute. First, we would like to start with our amazing cultural attaché here in Jeddah, Daniel Buckman, who would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Siham. And thanks all for joining us, whether you're joining us now live or you're joining us sometime in the distant future, or hopefully not so distant future virtually, as hopefully this recording will remain alive and well. Thank you for joining. We are really excited to be doing this program today with some really incredible US institutions and universities. Teaching and teachers are really the lifeblood of everything that we do really in the world, but specifically for my job. So I'm the cultural attaché here at the US Consulate General in Jeddah. And what that means is that I work on building relationships between the people of Saudi Arabia and the people of the United States. And the role of teachers and the role of study abroad is so important to that work, because when someone goes overseas, when someone develops a curriculum or develops a class plan, tries to understand the nuances of early childhood development with someone from another part of the world, with someone from another culture, it can be such a powerful thing, and inspiring them to change their teaching style and inspiring them to adapt different ways and different practices for managing a classroom. And we really believe in the power of international education. We believe in the power of sending folks overseas and bringing folks here to Saudi Arabia to share in all of these different kind of practices that we learn, and how to do pedagogy, how to teach, how to build up the future generation better and more effectively. And we think that the United States, in our culture of the liberal arts, in our culture of getting people outside of their comfort zone, bringing people into different disciplines that they might not have experience in, we think that that's something that the US does uniquely well. And I'm really excited for you all to hear from some of the universities that are here today and some of the institutions that are here to talk to you today about the programs that they offer, whether it's in Montessori education or in early childhood development. These are some really incredible programs, and we hope that you take the time to consider applying, to consider taking the next step in your education in the United States. And I would be remiss if I didn't celebrate the work of Siham Ouri, who is our education advisor. Siham is, she is our rock star and our most effective tool in getting you to the United States. So if after today you're inspired, you want to go to American or Xavier, Oregon, or Indiana, Siham is your tool. You reach out to us, reach out to Siham. We will sit down with you, develop a plan for how to apply, how to get that, that degree funded, what scholarships you can apply for. We help you from everything from looking at the universities that best fit to getting you to the United States and getting the visa and getting you on that plane. Because the more folks that get on the plane, the more folks that engage in that cultural exchange, that engage in that collaboration, the stronger bonds that we can build between our two countries, and the cooler the teaching and the practices that we use in our classrooms will be. So we're really excited for today. We're really excited for you all to learn about some of the programs that we offer in the United States, and to learn from some of our really incredible institutions that are here represented today. So thanks to all of my fellow panelists. Thanks again to Siham, and thanks, of course, to our attendees, both current, past, and hopefully future attendees. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Dan. I was muted for a second. So why education programs? Why Rubber Duck Day? So today's discussion, like Dan said, is actually very personal to me, because for the past 14 years, I was Mrs. Ouri, the primary teacher who was working in an inclusive classroom here in Jeddah with children with learning difficulties. I was once a student who graduated from Saudi Arabia, entered the world of education in New York, and I know firsthand that education is more than a teacher inside a classroom talking to children. I know the various skills and tools educators gain from these programs that we're going to discuss. And I know that these programs and tools, they can take students and educators beyond the traditional image and role of a teacher. On the other hand, I do also understand that education programs in the field like special education, curriculum development, Montessori, early childhood education, or even secondary education is for some reason undermined programs in the Middle East to travel for. Most of the time we hear people would travel to become lawyers and doctors, and it's very rare for somebody to travel to become a teacher, but Exhibit A, I've done it. And it's been amazing and a wonderful journey. And so I wanted, and we wanted in the US consulate to create this opportunity for all the amazing attendees, like Dan said, present and future, to learn more about these programs and the field. And so why rubber ducks? Well, who hates them? They're cool, they're cute. And at some point, everyone had a rubber duck throughout their lives. And they remind me of early childhood, I have to be honest. And so now I would like to give this floor to our amazing guest speakers who took time to be with us today. So I would like to start with Xavier University, who will be discussing early childhood Montessori programs. I would like to start with Dr. Maha.
Yes, good morning, good evening. I'm excited to be part of this panel. My name is Maha Narda. I am a teaching professor at Xavier University. We are specialized in a Montessori education program. We offer graduate and undergraduate education program, and also in other majors like nursing. I'm here to help you answer any questions regarding Montessori or early childhood education or education in general.
Thank you, Dr.
Welcome.
Thank you. And we also have Megan. I'm sorry, Megan.
Hello, everyone.
On the spot.
Hi.
2 words.
Oh, no worries. Hello, everyone. My name is Megan Lindell. I work as the Associate Director for International Admissions here at Xavier University in Cincinnati, Ohio. We're in the Midwestern part of the United States. So our university is about 6,200 students. We have over 100 international students coming from all over the world, and we definitely hosted international students from Saudi Arabia. And I look forward to answering any questions you have about the international admissions process.
Thank you, Megan.
Nice meeting all of you.
All the way to American University for Elementary Education Program, we have Alex Ward.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Ward. I am the Acting Director of Academic Administration for the School of Education at American University. It's quite long, but we're located in Washington, D.C. We're here today to talk about the Elementary Education Program. We do have a couple different programs at the School of Education as well, but we'll primarily be talking about the MAT. We have a few different tracks as well, so it won't just be elementary that we'll be discussing today. But for further news, I'll pass it over to my colleague, Melissa Young.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Young. I'm the Graduate Program Coordinator for the MAT program at American University. And as Alex said, we have a few different programs depending on what age of students you prefer to work with. So the elementary program is in the US system, grades 1 through 6. So in general, that is children ages about 6 through 12. So we're happy to answer any questions that you have and let you know more about the programs, and hope that you have some interest in coming to Washington, D.C. to study with us.
Thank you, Melissa. All the way to University of Oregon for Education Leadership Program. For the grads, we've got Lorenzo.
Awesome, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Lorenzo Wilcox here with the University of Oregon. We are in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. We're in the city of Eugene, Oregon. And we're a public Tier 1 research university. We have around 23,000 students, about 4,000 students in our graduate programs overall. And we have students from around 90 countries. representing our campus. So really looking forward to answering any questions about our amazing College of Education. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And to University of Southern Indiana for Special Education Program, we have Tori Carlson.
Hello, I am Tori Colson. I am the Assistant Dean for the Pott College of Science, Engineering, and Education. I'm also an Associate Professor in Teacher Education. And I'll be talking to you about our Bachelor's of Arts and Bachelor of Science in Special Education, which focuses in mild intervention. We certify in P through 12. We also offer other areas of education as well. University of Southern Indiana is located in Evansville, Indiana in the Midwest. We're about 2.5 hours from Nashville, Tennessee, Indianapolis, Indiana, St. Louis, Missouri, and Cincinnati. So quite a few little areas you can get to from Evansville. We'll look forward to talking to you today.
Thank you. And finally, we have Emmy.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this discussion panel. Thanks to my colleagues as well. I'm excited to learn about these other programs as much as you all are. My name is Emmy, and I'm the Executive Director for the International Office at University of Southern Indiana. I'm looking forward to talking to all of you if you have any questions about admission process, scholarship application, and really about University of Southern Indiana. As many of my colleagues, we also have other programs, but we're excited to answer any questions that you have. Thank you for joining. And then I have also my colleague Hunter here. Do you want to introduce yourself, Hunter?
Hello, everyone. I guess good morning from Evansville and good evening to you in Saudi Arabia. I'm a Center for International Programs advisor here, so I work closely with our exchange and sponsored students. I did my undergrad and graduate here at USI, so it truly is a gem of a campus, and it really is a campus of care. So I'm excited to answer any questions you might have, and we're excited that we're getting this opportunity today.
Wonderful. Thank you all again for joining us today. And so just in general, the discussion is going to be divided into 3 parts, specific questions that I'll be circulating around, and everyone will get a part from each university and program to explain how different that is from the other. Anything related to application process and scholarships, I would like to remind our attendees that the university recruiters that are with us today also, they will share their email addresses. So if you'd like to share it now and again at the end of the meeting, you can please go ahead and do that. I will also be sharing the Education USA Advisors emails at the end from Riyadh, Dhahran, and Jeddah for anyone who's interested in these specific programs and these specific schools to contact us to see, how they can start their application and moving forward. So before we start, let's make sure. Okay. So before we start, I would like everyone, if they can just take a minute, we'll do this fun thing super quickly. And I would like also the guest speakers to write that and be honest. You can also type in the chat. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word teacher? The first thing that comes to your mind? Mentor. Please, I also encourage our attendees to also type. Caring. Oh, hey, Dr. Vanessa. Okay, so it looks like I just have to change a name here while everyone type in their answers. For some reason, Dr. Vanessa is also named as Megan. Right, let me fix that. Okay. There we go. Okay. Go back to our chat. Guide. Patient. Yes, patient. Yes. Leader. I love that. I love that. I love these words. So mentor, empathetic, wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, so let's start. So the first thing that would come to mind whenever I read a program, special education program, education leadership program, elementary education program, Montessori program, the question that comes to mind usually is, what is it? So when we say, what is it? It's mainly more like, what is the goal eventually of that program? What do I become if I am enrolled in that program? There are some programs out there that are very kind of like specific in terms of as soon as someone reads them or sees them in their application, they're like, yeah, I already know what am I going to be, engineer. I'm going to, work in engineering, something specifically in medicine. So I already know what I'm going to work as. But then when it comes to education, at some point, people thought long ago that it's just education and you can be a teacher and you can teach anything. Once a teacher, always a teacher. And whatever class we put you in, then you can work, whatever you do, whatever, you can wear many hats. However, now with technology and the world is evolving, education is also evolving. And so the programs themselves have become more specific. And so I would like to start with Xavier University to tell us, what is it? What is the program? What is Montessori program?
Hi, my name is Dr. Vanessa Rigo. I'm a associate professor and program director of the Montessori Institute. And Montessori is a pedagogy and theory that was developed by Dr. Maria Montessori in Italy more than 100 years ago. And it really provides children with an opportunity to examine the universe, the world around them. So they have opportunities and experiences that are hands-on with dialectical materials, didactic materials that Maria Montessori developed, that really gives you an opportunity to understand how the world functions and works. So even through the process of language and mathematics, we learned that there is a timeline in which these things occurred, and they were gifts from our ancestors that really allowed us to be able to have the tool of communication, which is language, and the tool of mathematics that helps us to decipher and analyze and do different things in the sciences in the mathematical area. So these opportunities is a very different system of learning that really engages students to work independently through the guide of a teacher to explore and to discover and have a really in-depth process of understanding how education can be very different, but engaging, and there's a love of learning and this participation and ability to really dive in deep in understanding how things function and how things work in our world and how we are stewards of the planet and how we have a cosmic task, whatever career that we might choose, that calls us to take part in that stewardship of the planet Earth.
Siham, you're mute.
I'm sorry. All right. So here in Saudi Arabia, the concept of Montessori is already spreading, and I've heard it as a teacher, I've heard it as a parent many times. However, I've seen it in different ways, and I've seen it with different ages. So when it comes to your program, is there a specific age targeted when students are enrolled in the program that they'll constantly be working with or keeping in mind?
So there are two different age groups that we cater to at this time. We have the age group between 3 and 6, which is called early childhood. And we also have the ages of elementary, which is 6 to 9 and 9 to 12. And we provide training in all those particular areas.
Okay. And so in terms of Montessori, it's embedded within those levels.
Yes, and there's other levels, but we don't offer them at Xavier. There's toddler and there's secondary, and secondary is middle school and high school, but we do not offer that at Xavier. At Xavier, we offer the early childhood and the full elementary, which is 6 to 9 and 9 to 12, which is traditionally first, second, and third grade, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. And our preschool is what we call the early childhood program.
Wonderful. Thank you. Because as I said, so here many times I've heard Montessori, but it's always associated with preschool, for example, something like before children goes to school. So this is very interesting. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about elementary education program. What is that, American University?
Okay, so I mentioned earlier the age group and the grade band that in the US system is grades 1 through 6. So in our program, the students look at a variety of different pedagogies and strategies. So they are introduced to Montessori as well, but not exclusively. We partner with schools in the Washington, D.C. area for students to also have very important clinical experiences there. And we try to introduce that experience as early as possible. So students are often volunteering or tutoring with young children already as they're beginning their studies. And then they do a semester of practicum where they are 2 days a week in an elementary school, and then in the student teaching 5 days a week in the school. We were very excited. Our students, we have both undergraduate and graduate. I work with the graduate students, and it's great to see the graduate students really becoming excited about entering teaching. As you said, becoming a teacher is a beginning, and there are lots of roles for leaders within a school for curriculum development and other types of work. And many times the teaching experience is the beginning.
So you mentioned graduate for graduates, so it's for the graduate program. So I did receive a couple of questions from the students that registered who stated that, let's say they've been working in something in a field, or they have their bachelor's in a field that is different than education. However, they're interested in doing their graduate degree in elementary education. Would that be okay, from a different background? Also, let's say somebody has been doing maybe teaching. I don't want to, it's very rare to see somebody teaching in high school and then going to elementary. Usually they would think something higher. However, let's say somebody wanted to do their graduate degree in the elementary group, and then afterwards was thinking of maybe teaching something in middle school or high school. Is that still okay in terms of, I've already got this, degree? Is that still going to equip me for future goals? Still in education, but different group.
Okay, well, I'll try to answer your first question first. We have many career changers who come to our program and who have maybe worked with children before, or maybe been working, let's say, in the sciences, or working in a retail setting or some other field, who feel passionate and want to work with children. So we, in the application process, we look at the undergrad transcript to make sure that the students have a broad range of academic experiences. And then once admitted, we take a closer look, because since we certify teachers in DC, we have to match the Washington, DC standards for teaching certification. So at that point, if a student needs to take an additional course or something like that, we recommend how to do that. But in general, we look at the undergrad transcript with a view toward the graduate program. As far as beginning at one level and then working in another related field or within education with a different age group, the teaching certifications in the US are organized by grade level. We do have many students who earn a degree with us and their teaching certification, and then go to teach overseas or return to their home country, where maybe there is more flexibility in terms of the certifications.
Yes, that is correct. Hey, thank you so much, Melissa. Education leadership. I mean, I can talk on and on about this. This is my master's and I'm in love with it. I'm so thankful I had that. Lorenzo, can you explain more? What is education leadership program?
Yeah, I'd love to. And funny enough, that was my master's as well. So I graduated with educational leadership and policy, master's of science degree. And that is what we offer at the University of Oregon. Our program is a cohort-based program. It's usually around 30 students. It's a full 12-month full-time program. It's got practical components attached to them, and the degree kind of has it's interdisciplinary because once you do the core educational courses, students really have a lot of freedom to kind of take from sociology or economics or planning, public policy, and management, and different areas like that that maybe might speak to the many interests that they might have related to the field. It's also a program that at the core, it has some data analysis components because it prepares graduates to go not just into educational leadership, but also like project management or policy analysis or nonprofit management, or there's so many different areas that you can take this degree into. And so some of, I mentioned we have core components of the program, but then we have a very long list of elective courses that students would need to choose just based on their passions. I wrote down some of them just to give you some examples of kind of how varied they can be. But if you're interested in higher ed policy, that can be the area that you focus on and choose your, 5 or 6 different electives. If you want to go into international education or education for multilingual students, you can do that as well. If you like more of the project management side, you can do that. If you like data science, if you're interested in that, with this program, we have a data science specialization. Just because, I think students find that in their first core course of, statistical research and quantitative methods, all of that, they really get passionate about that. So they want to explore that, and they can add further certifications related to that. So it is a program that can be fluid. You can really guide the program in your own way, but it really prepares students for a lot of leadership pathways and administrative positions, I would say, more than anything within education.
Well, you kind of like answered everything that I had in mind. But it is true. A lot of people that I've met after I signed up for my education leadership program, which I took at the University of New England in Maine, basically everyone thought, oh, so you wanted to be a principal. And that's the only thing that they had in mind, that I'm going into education leadership because I just want to be a principal, which you can, and it will help you a lot. It will equip you, but there are many more options that you can do with that degree as a graduate degree. So thank you so much, Lorenzo. Hey, special education. This is my undergrad degree, which also is very special to me. I can say stories and stories about how special education started to evolve. And it was actually one of the reasons why I went to the United States for that program in particular. So University of Southern Indiana, the floor is yours.
All right, so USI has a 120-hour degree program in special education in mild intervention in grades P through 12. So it's preschool through 12th grade. So our special education major provides you with opportunities for interdisciplinary courses and is recognized by the Council for Exceptional Children, which is the CEC. So if you're interested in working with individuals with special needs, then this degree would be a good fit for you. You'll have opportunities for practicum experiences at both the elementary and secondary levels. Through volunteer work and field experiences, you'll learn more about which age group would suit you best. You'll also find mentoring provided by college faculty, field-based teachers, and site coordinators. USI special education faculty will be especially helpful for you because as you navigate the program, they were all former special education teachers. So they'll be able to provide you with real-life experience as you go through the coursework. Also, our classes are limited to 28 or less, which will give you more opportunity for collaboration and co-teaching practice. So you'll actually get to practice those skill sets within our classroom. So the field of special education is growing, and teacher candidates at the University of Southern Indiana typically find employment within the first year after graduation. And because this program prepares teachers to serve children with special needs, in P-12 settings, you have a wide variety of options when you graduate. So you can teach at different levels, different types of schools. So, the sky's the limit for you if you want to go into special education. Also, because we want you to be highly qualified when you graduate, we encourage you to get a content minor as well, such as reading or maybe math, so you can become more specialized in a content area as well.
Thank you. Now, I wanted to ask you a question that I had in mind when I was in high school trying to enroll in special education. One of the questions that I had, and I remember asking my advisor is, will I be able to work in regular schools? Again, at that time, back in the days, regular schools, meaning that 0 student with learning difficulty or a shadow teacher or a paraprofessional or any kind of intervention that we would add. Those are kind of like a special school at that time. Nowadays, the ideas started to evolve and we've got inclusive. However, what would your answer be to a student asking, will I be able to work in any school?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Most of the time, students you'll be working with in mild intervention are placed in least restrictive environments. So they're in the general education classroom. So you'll be probably working in a general education classroom with a general education teacher, probably in a co-teaching type setting. So you'll be working one-on-one with another teacher, probably in that type of setting, co-teaching alongside with them. So absolutely, you'll be working with, in regular classrooms. A lot of times, especially with this type of certification with mild intervention, the likelihood of working in specialized school is slim just because it is a mild intervention program.
Thank you. Okay, so now comes the second part. As soon as we walk into classrooms, professors hand us syllabus and advisors hand us a list of mandatory classrooms and elective classrooms, and we have to figure out what to do with them. And so I will go around and would like to ask each university about the programs, let's say, like if you can name some of the specific classrooms that will be part of that program, whether it's something related to child psychology or something related to math and science in lower primary or in elementary. Also, if you could please let us know when do usually the hands-on practices start? So when do student teaching start? Is it only, when we graduate? Is it something that there's going to be, especially for graduate programs, is it everything literature based, or is it there will be a space for a student to actually go into a field from the first semester, second semester? How does that work in the layover of the program? When do they, start the action, basically? So I would like to start with Xavier University.
So one of the things that we have at our Xavier University for our Montessori program is that we have a lab school that's on campus, and the lab school allows for students to participate beginning the first day that they start they visit the lab school and they have opportunities to volunteer and to be a part of the lab school from the very first day. The lab school has children ages 3 all the way to 14, because we also have early childhood in there. We have the elementary to 2 levels, and we have secondary middle school. What's unique about Xavier's program is not only are you getting the Montessori degree, but you're getting the full ability to be able to teach in any school, because you're getting the state licensure and meeting all the national standards, which would be taking the assessments for the EdTPA. Also, what's really interesting is that you are given an advisor. That advisor serves as your mentor and your counselor throughout, that allows you to prepare for your career. So a lot of the last 2 years, we had several students go abroad. We have one student right now who's currently working in a school in Germany, Montessori, leaving our program. So through the consulting, I was able to match her to a school in the area where she wanted to work in Germany and get all the processes together. So the program is very comprehensive, and the support that they get allows them to really engage in those kinds of work, both hands-on and lecture, but more hands-on, where they're engaged with other students in partner work. They have a variety of different projects that they get engaged in. And also there's field experience starting your sophomore year, where they go out to the field and begin to practice being a teacher, practice giving lessons, observing all sorts of things, mentoring students, tutoring students, all sorts of opportunities. We also have opportunities for them to engage in some of our partnership programs. We have a reading camp that we run that they can work in all summer. We also have a tennis camp with literacy that they can participate all summer. Also, there's an opportunity once you get to your last year to do your practicum. And because it's a Montessori program, we have a full year practicum where they spend a full year full-time in the classroom as a teacher. So it really impacts and gives them the opportunity to really understand the morning and the afternoons. What does it feel like? How does it, parent-teacher conferences, what does it look like to engage with parents and really exchange information? They participate in faculty meetings. They have an opportunity to fully be engaged in what that process looks like for them to be a teacher. And Maha, you may add if you had anything else to add.
Yes, and also I want to add about the early childhood and the elementary program, that we are accredited by MACT, which is Montessori Accreditation Council for Teacher Education, and it's affiliated with American Montessori Society. So we do have the hands-on activity for all our journals in 5 areas: the language, including the phonics, math, science, humanities, and the sensorial section, which is we're very we focus a lot on the sensorial in early childhood education. So it is accredited by MACT, and that requires 540 hours as an intern that they have to finish on the last year of the program.
Wow, that's for sure a lot of hours than what I've done in New York. At that time, I had to do one final semester as a full-time student teacher in a public school. And if I could do more, I would, because over the program took me 5 years. I've done double major. We had a lot of hands-on, working different schools, different types of schools, not only public schools. However, that last semester where we had to do a full-time student teaching, where you are with the same students every single day, going through everything from parents meeting to, thematical themes related to curriculums and any events that they have, and being just with the children for that long, it was memorable. And I'm still in contact with the teacher. I would still remember it until this day, all the stories, and that basically what shaped future methods of teaching. Even though I went around to different schools, but that final year and that final student teaching is very memorable. Yeah, very memorable and important, like you said, Dr. Maha, because you're with the same class and same mentor and students as if you're, that's it, you're your teacher. Even though I do understand there were a couple of restrictions at that time because you still don't have your license. So there are like a couple of things that you had to follow and rules. But yes, the final year is very important. Thank you.
And also I want to say that the hours for the elementary is 1,080 hours. full time in the classroom. So that's why it takes a full year for the elementary teachers to engage in that curriculum, because they're getting trained through first through sixth grade, and that is both for the undergraduate and graduate students.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. For the elementary education program in the American University, I wanted to know about, the practical part.
Okay, so in terms of the course progression, and this is the graduate program, the master's in arts and teaching in elementary education. So we start with the foundational courses, effective teaching for diverse students, theories of educational psychology and human development. So really understanding how children learn, and then move into more specifics, children's literature, and a course called Foundations of Education that really looks at how did we get to where we are in the US in terms of our education system. Everyone takes a course in Foundations of Special Education, because we know that, as you mentioned, within elementary schools, even if I am the general education teacher in the classroom, I'm going to be working with children who have a range of different needs. And then the methods courses in reading, in math, and in social studies happen during the practicum semester and the final semester of student teaching. There are, as I said, many opportunities to work with children in small groups or in a tutoring type setting earlier in the program, but those last 2 semesters, the practicum and the student teaching are required for everyone earning certification in our program. We partner with lots of different schools, both public and private, in the Washington, D.C. area, and the geography of this area, Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, suburban Maryland are all very close. So we have students doing their student teaching, not always in DC, in the city, sometimes they're outside. And then there are also charter schools in Washington, DC, and as I mentioned, private or independent schools.
Sometimes when students are enrolled in elementary education, at the, let's say, first year, they try different grades and different levels, and then they somewhat feel attached to a certain level.
Yeah.
So do you let the students constantly, choose the same grade if they feel attached or comfortable, especially when they have to write lesson plans and any papers that are related to choose a specific grade, and follow, or do you try your best to push them to go ahead at different classrooms and grade?
So for example, let's say the methods course for teaching reading in the elementary school, there are a lot of options there for a project or a research paper. For the practicum and student teaching, we try to make sure that the students have experience both in the early elementary and the upper elementary grades. The expectation is that students will be comfortable in any of those grade levels and teaching any subject area. In practice, most elementary teachers end up specializing in, let's say, grades 3, 4, and 5, or grades 1 and 2. Maybe one teacher does the reading and the social studies, another teacher does the math and science. So we know that in practice, you may not be teaching everything to all the grade levels, but the certification requires that you have experience and knowledge across the levels.
Hey, Lorenzo, can you tell us a little bit about the practical part for educational leadership? So, and also because we're talking about for educational leadership, the program is for grads. And I've done it online, but I also had to submit some practical things based on the work that I was doing with students at that time. So do you offer online, because I also received that question for educational leadership, do you offer an online program? Do you offer hybrid? If it's in person, how does the practical happen? If it's online, how does the practical happen?
Yeah, so our program is pretty much fully in person. I mean, we do have some online courses available, but the bulk of the program and the curriculum would be in person. The practical experiences are going to vary quite a lot based on the interest area of the student. I mean, we are a research and experiential learning university, so practical experiences is going to be built into the program, but it might be, you know, connected to a nonprofit organization. It might be higher ed administration, and they have an amazing opportunity here at a major university to kind of get involved in that way and do practical experience that way. We are connected with our local school districts and a lot of different communities around Eugene if they really want to be in the school setting. And so it really will vary. But yes, we do have that practical component. Again, it's mostly an in-person full-time 12-month program. Students have the option to do it part-time and you know, take 2 years to complete it. That might give them, you know, a little more time to maybe they're working, or maybe they're getting that other experience, you know, in addition to the classroom. But it's mostly in person with some online options, but not that much.
All right, thank you. For special education, I remember also one of the questions that I had when I started doing practical is that, will the professor let me know that I'm going to be placed in an inclusive classroom? Will the teacher of the classroom let me know what are the cases available? So, you know, I get a head start, and that was not the case. We had to kind of figure it out on our own. So I wanted to know, for special education, how does practical happen?
Yeah, so you know, generally, you starting your sophomore year, you get opportunities to be out in the field. You'll be placed. Generally, we're either placed in an inclusion classroom, or it could be in a resource classroom, depending on the school. More and more schools are tending to use more inclusive practices. So you're, especially in the school districts where we place at, you're going to be generally more in inclusive classroom, but then that some of those classes still may have some pull out where you're in a resource classroom. And then we do generally try to have students, especially when they get into the 400 level practicum courses, where they're involved in opportunities to be involved in case conferences, IEP meetings, especially when they get into what we call clinical internship, aka student teaching, that they have those opportunities. So yes, we try to make sure that they have those opportunities during that. Something else too, I think, is unique about our special education program, and within special education in general, you kind of have to know a lot about a lot as far as content areas, because you can be in English or reading, you can be in math, you can be in science, you can be in history. So in our strategy courses, we have a strategies 1 and a strategies 2. Our strategies 1 generally focuses on elementary level, but it provides strategies for lots of different content areas. So how do I prepare my special education teachers to work in math, in science, in social studies? And then we have separate reading courses for reading. But then in the secondary, if I'm working in secondary, those become generally end up being more specialized, right? If I'm a high school special education teacher, maybe I'm focusing on working in math, or I'm working in the sciences, or I'm working in English. So we try to help focus on how do I do strategies within those content areas. Our program also has 15 hours of reading instruction. because as a special education teacher, generally a lot of the learning disabilities that you work with for students tends to fall with either dyslexia or just struggling with reading in general. So we provide candidates with 15 hours of reading instruction.
Okay, I must ask, do you have students usually that become afterwards more interested in specific kind of learning difficulty than the rest? And maybe you'll see that through their papers or through the projects and curriculums or through the observation and case studies that they choose, that they're leaning towards a specific learning difficulty.
Not so much. Well, I say not so much, but probably more with reading difficulties, because I think that's where our curriculum is focusing on, because that's where our state is focusing most of its resources in is the area of reading. So that seems to be where we're focusing most of our resources at the state level, and at the university is really working on struggling readers. So I tend to say that's probably where our special education teachers are focusing their expertise on, is how do I help students who are struggling readers, whether they fall in the realm of special education or not, right? That's kind of where the focus tends to be falling in.
Okay, thank you. Before I go to our final question, I would like to ask the attendees, if you have any questions, you can start typing it in the chat. So after we're done with our final discussion, then we can answer any questions. If not, also at the same time, if the international recruiters from the different universities that we have here, if you can also again add your email addresses as well in the chat, and I'll be sharing also the education advisor email addresses. Finally, the final question I have, and I'll start with Southern Indiana, because we were talking about the different the different learning difficulties that students would like sometimes to focus on. And then you mentioned reading, and you mentioned how the state is focusing on that. So let's talk about now international students. So international students coming in, and I'm sure they, just like I've learned, the different states common cores and how each state has a different curriculum and a specific target and working on specific things. And so as an international student, will they be able to take what they've learned and apply it back home, or wherever the home is, or anywhere around the world?
Oh, absolutely. I think you can take whatever skill set that you're learning here and be able to apply that to any place, because I think what we've learned, especially in the area of reading and how the brain works and how we teach reading, it doesn't matter where you're from, where you are, where you live, right, and who you are. The brain works the same way. So we can take that skill set and be able to teach reading and teach students how to read anywhere. So yeah, absolutely. I think you can take these skill sets back to your home country, to any state. Doesn't even have to be Indiana, right? You can take that information back. So yes.
Thank you.
And if I can add, Siham, all students are encouraged to work with a mentor, and if they want to work on specific project that they can adjust to conditions in their country, then teachers are flexible and want to be helpful. They want students to be able to apply the skills they learn and adjust it to the settings that they will be. So that's also an opportunity. And even if we arrange like potential teaching practicums out of the country, that's also an opportunity. So that way they can transfer the skills they learn in the specific setting they want to be at.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so Lorenzo, how about education leadership and international students and mindsets?
Yeah, I mean, I think since it's more, I mean, it's not a teaching degree, I think it's maybe easier or less kind of, you have to think like about certification or things like that to take the degree outside of the US, right? Because it's going to have a lot of those data analysis components and research methods, and again, that interdisciplinary learning that students can really build their degree depending on what they're passionate about. So they can really take that degree to a government agency all over the world and have those skills be transferable. So I think, international students could apply it to anything they want to pursue, whether in the US or Saudi Arabia, wherever it might be.
Thank you. For elementary education program, how can international students take what they've learned outside?
Well, what we're seeing is that students find all kinds of ways to make the learning their own. And, as you mentioned, if a student has an interest in a certain area within elementary education, they have the opportunity to explore that. Where we're located in Washington, D.C. is a very international area. So our international students, even though, they're coming to a new country and they're experiencing life in the United States, they're also finding classmates from all over the world and, finding a really rich environment in which to learn. Within our graduate programs right now, we have students from a student from China, we have a student from Ecuador, we have students who've come to us from many different countries and have found lots of things to interest them.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. For Montessori program in general, I've seen it firsthand how it's been adapted here, but I wanted to hear from your experience with your international students. How is that evolving?
Well, as you know, there's over 16,000 Montessori schools around the world. So our curriculum in itself was global in its nature. And so the global internet, so we bring faculty also bring a range of international experience. I lived in China for 5 years, my husband in Jordan. So our faculty bring a vast experience of being abroad and can talk to Montessori. Our Montessori program is not just Western focused, but it's focused on the pedagogies and process of how to adapt it in different settings. And so even when, what's really interesting about Montessori is that we've had students take Montessori who might not even go and teach in a Montessori school because we meet all the state standards and everything else, but they take those ideas and be able to create their own materials. So that's what makes it a very unique program, in that you're getting a pedagogy that can spread throughout the world at any time in any given space. And one of the things I wanted to mention is that you become a well-tuned generalist, experienced generalist. So unlike other programs where you tend to focus on math or science or a particular area or language and social studies, Montessori allows you to really expand yourself and be a generalist that can teach in multiple different areas, but most importantly is those interdisciplinary studies that you can do, because we know that, and nothing is really isolated in our world, everything has a connection. So having that opportunity to pull in the language in terms of communication in a science lesson or in a math lesson or in a social studies really enhances that teaching and being able for children to see how we're interconnected.
Thank you.
Also, if Megan has anything to add in terms of international.
Megan.
I was just going to mention, sorry, my voice is a little bit not here today, so I apologize. I just wanted to add that as an international student, if you're coming on the F1 student visa, you are able to apply for curricular practical training, or CPT, after you've been in the US for at least 2 academic semesters. So for most students, they can start working for through curricular practical training for their student teaching experience by their last year of schooling, whether it be at the graduate level or the undergraduate level. Typically, our graduate students will be here for 2 years. So the first year, you can certainly go out and observe. You can be observing in our lab school, and then you can get that CPT for the second year to be able to go and do your student teaching full time. And then you can also apply for optional practical training, where you can continue working in the US for up to a year, sometimes even a little bit longer after you graduate. I'm going to stop because my voice is not very good today, but I'm sure the other international missions and staff here could add to this if needed.
And since the this is Emmy from University of Southern Indiana, I'm sorry, I'm having some issues, but
No worries.
yeah, students, if it's in the science program, they can apply for additional 2 years, so 3 years of optional practical training after they graduate from the program, which is a unique opportunity for them to really hone in on those skills. And the need for educators, even in the United States, is really high at this day and age. So definitely encourage students who will seek these programs to then try for this opportunity, and that makes them more marketable after they get back to their country.
That is correct. I can relate to everything that you guys have shared personally, and thank you so much for your time. I do not think there's been any questions in the chat. However, if I started receiving specific questions through via emails for the programs that you've mentioned, I will definitely be copying you in the emails. I'll definitely be directing them to you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your efforts. And thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here today.
Thank you, Siham, for hosting us, and thanks to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Day. Bye.